I like to read, and I read a lot. Most of the time I read using my e-reader. This is not new technology. I'm sure most of you are familiar with e-readers of some description. What I want to talk about today, though, is the problem I have. I like to read in bed, and when I lie down, my head's on a pillow. In order to be able to read, my eyeballs like to move side to side like that. If I lie down with my head on a particular angle, put the book on the bed next to me to read, then the angle of my eyes trying to move doesn't line up with the words on the screen. Now that I've got my own 3D printer at home, it's time to solve that problem. Today, what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be building a little stand that I can rest the side of the e-reader on, so that it doesn't sit flat on the bed and I don't have to physically hold up the side of it to be able to keep reading. The angle here is going to be about 30 degrees from horizontal. Hopefully that's going to make reading in bed a lot more comfortable. Today I'm going to do my work in SolidWorks. Out of the 4 CAD software that I've got readily accessible, SolidWorks is my favorite. I'm just going to start off building an extruded boss base. I'll just make that a very simple rectangular base. If this is at a 30-degree angle, the center of gravity is probably somewhere around here. I'm going to extend the holder up to about this point here. That will keep my center of gravity safely within the bracket area, so the book isn't going to be likely to topple out of it. So what I'll do is I'll just measure that. And I'm going to make it 75 millimeters in length. And I think 50 millimeters is probably a fairly good width. Now this doesn't need to be particularly huge. I'll just make that around about 3 millimeters. My e-reader stabilizer is going to have an L-shaped bracket that sort of comes up here and holds the book in place. I'm going to use the sweep tool to create the main holder. I really want to sketch in the center of the work. To do that, I'm going to offset a plane to the center of the base here. On that plane, I'll draw the path that the sketch is going to follow. I'm going to do it up from the edge here. Using the dimension tool, I can create an angle here, and as I said before, I want that angle to be 30 degrees. I'm just going to put a little fillet in here. I'm actually going to make that fillet 3 millimeters. Okay, so that path there is going to be the path. I'll now draw the profile, and to do the profile, I'm going to need another reference geometry. I'll be referencing that geometry off the right plane. What I've done here is I've made a plane. I'm quite sure there's a better way to make this plane in one move, but I can't figure it out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to offset a plane, and I'll try to make the second reference point here. Now that I've got my plane exactly where I want it, I'm going to draw the profile that's going to hold my e-reader. I'm going to use a center point rectangle and start from this point here. The thickness of my e-reader is 9 millimeters, so that means the cutout needs to be 9 millimeters. I think I'll make the profile 2 millimeters wider than the cutout is going to be, and I think an inset of around 3.5 to 4 millimeters should be enough. So I'll make this dimension here 8 millimeters. And then what I'll do is use another center point rectangle, and I'm just going to cut into that material. So it needs to be 9 millimeters wide. And I'd like to make that 4 millimeters. So I'll make that 8, and using the trim tool, I'll remove all of this unnecessary material. This looks a little bit excessive here, so I'm going to try just reducing that a little. 5. Once again, trim all of this unnecessary material. And I've got my profile here. Little bit of a fillet here, 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 and here. And I'll just make those 0.3 of a millimeter, and I'll then add a fillet to all of these corners as well, using the swept boss base. As the profile, I'll select sketch 3, and as the path, I'll select sketch 2, and that preview there looks to be the shape of what I want. So I'll go ahead and click the tick now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a kind of a rib in between here and here. Now there is a rib tool here. I'm not sure how to use that, but I'm pretty sure what I can do is just do a simple extrude boss base. I'm going to click on this surface here. I'll draw a center rectangle in line with the center of the material and starting here. And I'll go to the edges of the work. I'll do a smart dimension here and make this 3 millimeters. Now I'm going to exit that sketch and do up to next. Click the tick, and that gives me a nice rib in between all the edges there. I think what's really missing from this is some nice rounded edges. So I'm just going to go along now with a fillet tool and see if I can create some nice gentle curves. I think about 3 millimeters would be nice, and just smooth all of these corners out. For these ones, I'm just going to use a little 0.5 fillet, and I'll go on that corner, Tangent propagation is my friend. All around. Let's see, can I do this one? Yes. And hopefully, yes. Click the old tick, and that to me seems like a good prototype to start with. Over to Cura now. Drag and drop my e-reader stabilizer in here. I'm just going to rotate that so that it lays flat. I'll slice that now. I'm using the support type tree, which should hopefully hold these little surfaces up. Let's have a quick look at the preview. Take it to the 3D printer to get going. 1 hour and 43 minutes. Hopefully tonight I'll be reading with a stable e-reader that I don't have to hold up. Alright, as you can see, I'm in my hoodie and my pajamas, basically ready for bed. And my 3D print is finished. So let's see if it actually works. Alright, here's my book. Oh, look at that. That's pretty good. Seems to be pretty stable. The book sits in there nicely. It's not tipping over, so the center of gravity's all good. Better get this off the printer and go test it out. That's just another one of those things I do on my weekend. See you later.